I just realized I'm jealous of my 6-year-old. I still think about the plumber that unclogged my pipe 10 years ago. I was brought up by family vloggers, and it ruined my life. I, F17, was brought up by parents who family vlog. They started vlogging when I was around 7 and stopped 3 years ago. I want to hugely avoid speculation as to who my family is, so I won't be sharing much more detail, but the channel had over 500,000 subscribers. My parents finally stopped when there was a mental health crisis in my family as a result of the channel. This was never shared online. If you are a family vlogger or are considering it, please read this and consider my perspective. I've wanted to share for a while but didn't know how to. I loved it for a while, I loved being center of attention while the camera was on, and I love getting more toys. I stopped loving it when I realized the only time I got attention was when the camera was on, and the only time I got toys was when I was performed in a way I was meant to. I'm going to list some stuff that happened and how it affected us. My siblings and I were so paranoid that there were cameras on us that the only place we felt comfortable changing was in the bathroom with the lights off. I couldn't talk to my mom about anything when my mental health began to get bad because I was too scared she'd share it online. If I'd asked her not to, it wouldn't have made a difference. I now barely have a relationship with my mother. My mom considered homeschooling us so that she'd have more time to make content during the day. My best friend's mom said she didn't want my friend to be my friend anymore because my mom kept filming her without permission. My mom didn't care how upset I was. I didn't have a single private moment. My mom woke me up with the camera on, and she often filmed right until we went to sleep. She filmed us in the bath, and although she's tried to get it off the internet, it's downloaded and online forever. She shared when I got my period, even though I told her I didn't want her to. Someone attempted to kidnap my sister and found it easy because they knew her full name, address, school, and details about her. My sister didn't know he was a stranger because she knew so much about her. There's obviously a lot more, and feel free to ask questions if you have them. I'm so sorry you went through this. My daughter has watched some of these family vloggers, and I find it so cringe. There's one in particular, Shot of the Jaegers, that made me sick. There's an entire storyline called The Doll Maker about a haunted doll that keeps following them around, and I keep thinking, do these kids even understand that it's pretend? The mother is running around screaming as though it's real, and some of those kids are so small they would be too young to understand. It's clear the mother does it for the money, and it just makes me ill. There are many others like this, but your story made me think of them in particular. I hope you and your siblings can heal from your experience. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry that you and your siblings had to go through that. Do you feel safer now? I see you're 17, so still a minor I think, but are you planning on leaving as soon as possible in case they might start up again? Or do you think you'll be alright? I no longer live with my parents. This sounds horrific. I'm so sorry that you were subjected to this, but thanks for your post because it's really interesting and important to share. I'm curious, did your parents make a lot of money doing this? Do you know how much? I was just wondering why they would think this was a good idea. My parents made more in a week online than my dad did in a year at his full-time job. I don't know specifics to be honest, but we all went to private school after the homeschooling idea didn't work, and we went on vacations out of the country at least once a month. I've always thought about how growing up in the spotlight would affect vlogger kids. I'm so sorry to hear your experience was so detrimental. I've unfollowed most family-focused accounts on social media now. Always used to love them, but it's starting to feel really icky when parents say things like wave to your friends to their toddlers who are busy doing something else. I think OP was probably too old when it started to answer this, but I wonder when and how kids start to realize that the friends are actually many, many strangers. It must feel so creepy and invasive when it finally clicks for them. It didn't really click until I was 11 or 12 that most people who knew me were grown-ups with boundary issues. People forget that although they know every detail of your life, they're a complete stranger to you. People I had just met would ask me about intimate moments of my life without a second thought. I still find it creepy now. What did your extended family and friends think of this? Most of them disliked it, mainly because they knew how unhappy it made us. For how long was it obvious that you didn't like it? Probably about 5 years. The fact that women's legs are naturally hairy is such a mind frick to me. My dislike of hairy legs on a woman feels so natural to me, but it isn't. It's a socially imposed preference, and if I had been born in any time before the 1900s, women would all be walking around with hairy legs and men wouldn't give a crap because it would be normal. It's hard for me to believe my preference for hairless legs is a social construct because it doesn't feel that way, even though it is. It makes me wonder what other aspects of myself that I believe are inherent are actually not. What an interesting thought. I'm gonna do the same. A few minutes ago, I was thinking about how in shows and movies, when you have characters stranded for a period of time, men are often shown to have more facial hair, but I don't think I ever seen more body hair on a woman in that scenario. It's like it's not even something that's considered. I love that hair on women's legs is making you question all of socially constructed reality. Yeah, my brother being disgusted with me wearing shorts around the house with unshaven legs while he has a thick brown full-on fur on his legs is insane. Not hating on you, OP. I just agree that it's pretty insane if you think about it. Glad you're starting to realize. Wait until you find out women also fart. I only poop with my legs crossed because it's more feminine. /S. My 26M wife, 29F, just came out to me me as a lesbian, and I'm not in the slightest okay with it. We've been together for about 5 years, but we were friends before that, and I've pretty much been living a lie. I've seen for the first time in years what she looks like when she's actually happy and not faking it. That just feels like a punch in my stomach. Last time I saw her like this was back in the early stages of our relationship. I've been falling deeper in love with her every day that we were together, and we had a beautiful son, and now everything's all over the place. I can't really just up and leave to go process all this because of my son, but I can't stand being here and seeing her every other day. I mean, I've been pretending everything is okay, but every time I see her, I want to scream until my head explodes. We agreed to get a divorce early next month and have already agreed to share custody. She seems to be happy that she's finally herself, and it just pisses me off that I'm the one that has to pretend now so that things stay smooth. Hypocritical of me, yes, but I'm only human, and I can't really lie to myself until I believe that I'm not angry. I really don't want to be an absent father, but I also would prefer not interacting with her for some time until I can properly deal with my anger towards her, because I know that if I keep pretending everything's fine, my mental state's only going to get worse. You're allowed to have feelings, man. You're allowed to be angry, frustrated, and disappointed. You can feel all those things and be a decent human being. Your feelings are valid. Is there somewhere you can stay so that you can get some distance to grieve your relationship? Do you have a supportive friend or family that can help custody transitions so that you don't have to see her? As top comment said, let yourself grieve, brother. What you went through is nothing short of exhausting and tiring. Take your time and don't feel guilty about your feelings. Dude, just because someone comes out doesn't make them immune to hurting people. It's alright that you feel this way, and I'm so sorry that you find yourself in this situation. If you can, I would suggest distancing from her, if at all possible, and getting divorced ASAP. This isn't a healthy environment for you, and you are worthy of love, affection, and respect. Also, find communities to support you, maybe a church, therapy group, online mentors, etc. But you need community and support through this. You can't carry this alone. Just know that it won't always be like this. Joe Rogan is not a good interviewer, and his podcast is not analysis. Popular with the unaffiliated voters, Joe Rogan's interviews are full, personal, unsubstantiated opinions and commentary. His interviews push his own opinions, and he doesn't push back against interviewees with correct or pertinent data, only ever his own thoughts. Listening to Joe Rogan is not the same as analyzing an issue, and it is certainly not a rigorous platform for testing ideas. It's irresponsible of him to conduct interviews this way, but that's probably why he's so popular. I'm just here for the comments. I like listening to his podcast, but I don't agree with his standpoint on everything. My biggest pet peeve with him is that he believes pretty much every article he reads on the internet, and then he takes some moral high ground stance that relies on the article's information. So yeah, I like listening to him, but I also think when people say he spreads misinformation that they are correct. As with the media, Joe Rogan, anyone. It's all fun and interesting until they start talking about something you have vast knowledge of, and then you realize that they're idiots. He's not an interviewer. He makes a conversation with the host. He is not there to analyze and makes an uncomfortable question. I don't necessarily think it's even put forward that way. He's just hanging out, so chill. Tried to warn a girl at my gym. I tried to warn a girl at my gym that had period stains on the back of her shorts, and she went on a rant saying that she was working out and OMG and trying to make fun of me in front of everyone for being weird. So I announced the entire gym that she was staining the equipment with her period blood and that she needed to wash and clean herself immediately. I've never seen her since. I know it was probably really petty, and I got a lot of shit from people for doing that, but honestly, try being humble enough to listen before making a public scene, you gosh dang drama queens. One time I was working out and saw a woman with a stain, and I went and discreetly told her, and she said thank you. It's a boring story, and that's a good thing. Contact with blood is a biohazard. We have training videos about it at work. Wasn't there a post last week about someone who stopped being someone's friend because she free bled all over the gym, and her defense was, but I wipe it up with a towel. Ew! What? Gross! As a woman, I would have been thankful. Been there. It's embarrassing when you realize and wonder how long you've been walking around like that. Once I was at a bar and I noticed a girl walk out of the ladies' room with a 5-foot long stream of toilet paper following her that stuck to the bottom of her shoe. I saw some people pointing and laughing at her, so I walked over to her and tried to discreetly tell her about the toilet paper. She reached down and pulled the toilet paper off and screamed, "F you" at me. I guess no good deed goes unpunished sometimes. Excuse me, I have a boyfriend! I'm sick of nobody knowing about this. Right, the other day I walked into a pub for the first time in ages. The gust of wind caused by me opening the door caused 2 receipts to fly off the bar straight at me. They flew either side of me in an act of astounding coordination, dexterity, and raw speed. I caught one in each hand simultaneously and slapped them both down on the bar in triumph. Astounding reflexes, cat-like agility, never to be repeated, and nobody saw or gave a shit. People need to know. Edit, Marvel had just contacted me about a possible film franchise. I was the only person in my crowded middle school gym that saw a kid toss his empty plastic bottle towards a garbage can, only to have it land and balance on the rim. He looked around excitedly to see if anyone else saw it, and our eyes met from what seemed like a mile away when you're 12. Never knew that kid's name or even talked to him, but I think about him often. I hope you got a free pint out of that. I didn't even get finger guns, mate. One time in a study hall in high school, a friend right across the table from me threw a pen at my face. I caught it in the air an inch away from my face with some once-in-a-lifetime reflexes and then wrote "you" on a piece of paper and handed it to him with the pen. Those moments are gold and so precious that it's just for you. I laced my braid with thumbtacks as a self-defense tactic. I, 28F, was 24 years old at the time, time and worked in this independent kitchen with no HR department as a cook for several years. There was a brief period of time where a coworker was pulling my hair repeatedly after being asked and told not to. He didn't even stop when my managers told him to F off. So I got permission from my sous chef to take things into my own hands. I braided my hair for work one day and wove thumbtacks into it. I was met with a yelp when he tried to pull my hair again, and he never did it again. This has been on my mind lately because it was a pivotal moment for me in the way I allowed people to treat me. I'm totally here for this. He deserved it. Well, that's a bad way to solve that problem. Good job. I had a guy that liked to jump out of the darkness and scare people. I told him not to do that to me ever, and he did it to me one day, and I punched him as hard as I could in his neck. I'm a massage therapist, so I'm not a dainty or weak. A memo was sent to the rest of the crew the next day not to scare other employees because it could lead to physical confrontation. Even with no HR, how TF did nobody else try to stop this person? He was literally assaulting a coworker. It's insane to me that you had to do that because they refused to fire him when the manager knew what was going on. My estranged family asked me for money. I haven't seen or talked to any of them in 23 years. They disowned me for being gay when I was 17. Now one of my brothers and one of my sisters called me because the family business is bankrupt and my parents are in danger of losing their house. They want me to pay it off. They figured I can because my husband is an ophthalmologist and I've never laughed so hard. Telling them to f*** off was one of the most satisfying things I've ever done. It's funny how when it's their act, it's family over everything. Good on you. Frick 'em. I would be like, oh, I would love to help, but unfortunately, I'm gay. Sorry, all my money is gay, so it wouldn't be any use for your straight problems. Ah, you want some gay money, huh? Buy the house after they lose it and then kick them out. But I'm not that petty. And make it a home for gay homeless people that were kicked out by their families. Sorry, still gay. Bye. I cannot imagine disowning my baby for being gay. I can't imagine never seeing one of my sons again. I can't imagine asking them to pay my house off under any circumstances ever at all. I'm gonna hug my boys so hard when they get home from school. Well, the 17-year-old might not let me, but I'll try. Sorry about your family, OP. Glad you made a nice life for yourself. It's pathetic how differently I'm treated when I'm attractive. I'm a 24-year-old man. In my late teens and very early 20s, I made some money as a male model, but due to mental health issues and a string of awful relationships, I put on a significant amount of weight. The way people started treating me differently was staggering. No one cared about what I had to say, and people treated me like being fat or chubby was the most significant aspect about me. I've gradually started losing the weight, and now it is showing. It is blatantly obvious how differently I'm treated. People look at me more, smile more, give me more stuff, go out of their way to help me, and are overall more attentive to what I have to say. People also seem to be more scared about confronting me, but that may be because I'm more muscular now. I understand when it is a stranger, but my own family treats me like this. Particularly 2 female cousins and 1 aunt. It's like now I'm everything to them, and they want to know how I'm doing. Yep. Growing up, I learned this quickly because there's a huge switch in the way you're treated on days you do your hair and makeup and days you don't. Beauty discrimination is very much real. I experienced something similar. I used to be pretty skinny, fairly conventionally attractive, and put on some weight during a major depressive episode. I immediately noticed a difference in the way people treated me, and it really sucked to realize just how shallow most people are, even some of my family. I lost 150 pounds, and the difference in the way people have treated me due to my weight loss has made me struggle with an eating disorder. The thought of going back to being fat doesn't bother or worry me, but going back to the way people treated me when I was fat is terrifying. Who would you say had the more noticeable attitude adjustments? Men or women, strangers or friends? When I became hot again, women went from uninterested to friendly and flirty. Men went from bullying and condescending to respectful and friendly. Strangers just stare more and smile more. Family, I am ashamed to say, had the biggest change. They just want to spend time with me now. It's the same if you come into money. Funny how attitude can change even from people you've known for decades. Suddenly, my in-laws like me and compliment everything about my appearance and home. Keeping track of the pronouns in my teen social group is exhausting. To start, let me say that my husband and I do not care about our children's or their friends' gender identities beyond a deep desire to respect the young people in our lives and create a supportive and positive environment for them. We are both queer, we understand how hard navigating adolescence can be, and we want to make sure our home is accepting and welcoming to everyone who steps foot in our door. Our daughter's friends go through frequent pronoun changes. Often each time I see one of these kids, they will be using a different set of pronouns and a new name, and I cannot for the life of me keep it all straight. Our relationship with her friends is cordial, and that's about it, which honestly I feel is appropriate. I'm not a teenager, and so beyond exchanging pleasantries, providing snacks, and offering a ride home, they are not a big part of my life. I would honestly struggle to remember their names if they weren't changing regularly. But every time I get it wrong, my daughter gets incredibly offended on their behalf, and I'm trying so hard, but it is just exhausting. Questioning who you are at this age is developmentally appropriate, and I don't begrudge them for that, but I also can't wait till her social group settles into a more long-lasting identity. For now, I'm just apologizing frequently and baking a lot of cookies. You could just start calling them by hair color, piercing, shirt color of the day, hey red shirt, hey green hair, hey platform boots. My 12-year-old daughter's friend group is this way, and it is definitely exhausting. I call them all hun or kiddo or something equally generic. Being in the medical field, I have just learned not to use pronouns mostly because I can't remember my patient's name to begin with, so everyone gets called lamb chop, sweetie, or love bug, only if they're older or senile though. I'm not about to call a big man lamb chop, lol. Otherwise, I would just say hello and avoid calling them anything. I'm dude, you're a dude. dude, we're all dudes. Peasant is gender neutral and usually gets a laugh. My sister's stupidity destroyed my family. My sister let her boyfriend drive my parents' car. She took it when they were out. She only had a learner's permit, so she was supposed to have a licensed adult with her. She let her boyfriend, who was a year too young to have a learner's permit, drive, and he crashed. He died. My sister was seriously injured. They think one or both of her feet were on the dashboard. She's paralyzed from the chin down. My parents' insurance isn't covering them since my sister took the car illegally, and her boyfriend's family are suing my parents. My parents tried to sue them back since he was driving, but it was thrown out when they tried. We had to move to an apartment because my parents couldn't afford our house. I see them cry every day. I heard my mom say that going bankrupt doesn't get rid of the lawsuit debt, and their lawyers told them to try and settle before it goes to court because they will probably lose. My sister has to be in a home forever because she needs help and care 24/7, 365. She remembers everything and her brain is not affected at all. Her medical and nursing home bills are so much money. My grandparents are all trying to help, but they're all in retirement homes and don't have much. I've seen them cry too. I know she is getting punished already because she's paralyzed almost completely, but I still can't even look at her because she destroyed our entire family. Thank you for the awards and nice words. Tragic. I saw something similar to this a few months ago up here. This girl's sister and her boyfriend, both 20s, were in a car accident and the boyfriend didn't make it. Her sister was driving and the boyfriend was in the passenger seat. She was speeding, trying to beat a train that was coming, and lost. Even though the boyfriend died, her sister also ended up paralyzed and remembers everything. The girl said it's been a few years now and she still resents her sister for what she did. This is one of those posts that leave me speechless, and I fail to form any words of comfort. What a tragic situation, and I can only wish you well in life, and I pray that you'll have enough patience to face other challenges. This is the worst answer to the situation, but your parents need to relinquish custody for her to the state. Her medical bills and care will be covered at their expense, and it will give your family the breathing room to pay off the lawsuit. Y'all can still visit her and stuff, you just wouldn't have to cough up the money. She'll be in better hands with them. Is this an option for everybody? Can the state afford so many disabled people if all of their families choose to relinquish custody? Yes. Your sister needs to become a ward of the state. She can get her care taken care of and the burden off your parents. This is one of those moments I've been on Reddit for long enough to say I have read almost this exact post before, almost word for word from memory. Either two families are exceptionally unlucky and this is horrible coincidence, or this is a fake post. If it is the former, then I am truly sorry for OP's situation. I've definitely read this post before, like a year or two ago probably. You're not alone. I'm a man and prefer sitting down to piss. I don't care what anyone thinks, it's more comfortable to sit and not have to aim into a toilet. Edit, I appreciate all the attention the silly post has gotten. Sometimes we just need to enjoy the mundane and find humor in that. If not humor, then a common bond. I hope I've either made you laugh or bond with me or someone else in this mess of a post. Much love. The only time I don't do this is if I'm in a public restroom with a turd-themed toilet seat. I saw this post literally as I sat down on the toilet to take a piss. You're not alone, brother. I piss sitting down in my house, but standing if I'm outside. God bless you. Sincerely, female roommate who deals with piss on the floor. I thought you said sitting down in piss. That is all. I still think about the plumber that unclogged my pipe 10 years ago. 10 years ago, my pipe got clogged and it pushed a huge amount of feces out of a drain in the backyard. A plumber came and I thought he would use some kind of tool to unclog the pipe. Nope. MF walked over the mountain of feces and shoved his hands into the drain and kept pulling stuff out. No gloves, no tools, went in arm deep. Ew. I just stood there in shock. He then washed his arm with the garden hose, didn't even ask for soap. Sometimes I think about him while trying to sleep. Last night was one of those nights. Plumbers are a different breed. Had one eat a sandwich while I was dry heaving because the smell of poop was so intense. TBH, not what I expected to see when I joined this sub, but I completely understand why you wanted this off your chest. I remember when I was working with a retired carpenter and he gave me words of wisdom one evening. When you're a plumber, you just gotta remember 3 things. 1, paychecks on Friday. 2, poop always coming back, so keep an eye out. 3, don't bite your nails. I was so unprepared for the third one. I don't know you at all, but I can still picture your face as you watch that scene unfold. Wow. Shocked Pikachu face. Yeah, editor, put the one up. Put it up. Show the picture. I love that picture. That man is immune to everything. You don't have to worry about him. I just realized I'm jealous of my 6-year-old. I woke up this morning and found my 6-year-old on the sofa, fully dressed and ready for school an hour before he's supposed to be up. I ask, hey buddy, what are you doing up so early? He replies, I accidentally peed the bed this morning around like 4 and I tried to wake you up but couldn't, so I took my blankets off, put them by the laundry room and changed, then I came out here. I thanked him for taking care of it and I told him not to worry, we'll have everything cleaned and ready for his bed later. Next time, make sure you pee before bed, accidents happen, blah 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 blah. Then he got up and got breakfast, I made coffee and I sat there and thought to myself, I'm jealous of this kid. It then reminded me of being around his age as a child and I remember wetting the bed, but my first instinct wasn't to wake my parents. Hell no, they would have beat the shit out of me. I instead went to the bathroom, stole a roll of toilet paper and tried to dry my pee-drenched linen because I knew if my parents found out I would be in so much trouble, I was terrified of them. My son doesn't have to live with that kind of fear. Instead, he tried to get me and when I didn't wake up, he took care of it himself. And I wish I felt that sense of safety and reassurance when I was his age. We can't change how we grew up, but we can make sure our children have a better time than us. Seems like you're doing a good job of it so far. Your 6-year-old got himself ready for school unprompted, and here I am having to tell my 12-year-old the reason he was having a hard time putting his pants on was because he was wearing shoes. You are who all of us want to be. Healing yourself while helping your kid, you're a great parent. I just saw something yesterday that said you are the adult you would have felt safe with as a kid, and it really hit home. Generational trauma is tough to break, and you did it, OP. Be proud. You raised a damn good child. Nah, not jealous. Proud. Proud that you can be that for your child and that he will not have to have parents as you had. You should be incredibly proud. That's it for today's video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful night. Goodbye.